Hello everybody, welcome back to Kanga TV, home of North Melbourne fans, and this is not exactly the video I thought I'd be filming today, and it's not exactly the video I want to film ever, let alone 8 weeks out until the start of the 2025 season. But you've all heard the news. George Wardlaw has suffered yet another injury, a hamstring injury at training this morning. It is the evening, Wednesday the 29th of January. At this stage, we don't have any further updates on George's condition and how bad that hamstring strain was. Harry Sheezel and Patch Adams both spoke to the media straight after training this morning. Let's have a listen to what they had to say first up.
Shattered for George. I'm not too sure the extent of it. Just heard out on the track that he left with a hammy pretty early. But yeah, we'll see how bad it is. But yeah, shattered for him, and we'll wrap our arms around him. He's worked so hard on his body the last few years to get it right. So if this is a bit of a setback, it'll be hard for him. But have no doubt he'll keep working hard and get his body right.
Obviously, you are one of his best friends. Talk to us about more in depth about how hard he has worked, how much this would really hurt him, how he'll come back strong.
Yeah, I think he will be pretty shattered. I don't know the extent of it, but pre-draft, obviously, he had a few complications in his draft year with it, and I think he was pretty frustrated that he couldn't get on the park, but still, obviously, such a talent, got the opportunity to come here, and I know how much he's learnt about his body and professionalism, how much work he's had to put into his body to get it right and get it to a level this pre-season. Like, he was so fit and firing and ready to go, and hopefully he'll still be able to show that this year, and it's not too long, but yeah, I'm sure he'll be shattered, and we're shattered for him, but like I said, we'll wrap our arms around it.
Yeah, it looks like he's done a hamstring. We're not sure about the severity of it yet. I think he's going to get a scan now, but yeah, unfortunate news for George. He'd done 90% of the pre-season and had been in some really good form, and his body was strong and fit and healthy, but unfortunately it looks like he's going to miss a bit of footy, just not sure how much. The one thing I do know about George, he's really resilient, and clearly he's been through it a few times now, so he'll do his rehab really diligently and make sure that he gets himself nice and strong and fit and ready to go, but how long that is, we're not too sure. But with his mindset and resilience and professionalism, I'm sure he'll be out there, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, so you're expecting that he'll probably miss round one?
It's too hard to tell at this stage. Yeah, we'll get some scans this afternoon, which will give us a little bit more. But clearly with his history, you'd think it would be a little bit longer than shorter, depending on the severity. But we'll have to take probably a pretty cautious approach, I would say.
As annoying and frustrating as the situation is for both North Melbourne and for George, and we only wish him a speedy recovery and to get back out on the park as soon as possible, I'm not really panicking at this stage. I feel like the 2025 preseason has started so early, and I kind of feel like the footy season feels like it's a lot closer than it actually is. In reality, we're only now at the end of January. We still have 2 and a bit months left until we actually take on the Bulldogs in round 1. So there is still a solid 8-9 weeks left where George can work on himself and get his body right and recover from this injury by all reports. And as you just watched in those clips previously, George was coming right and raring to go. He's been working so hard on his body in the off season to get it right and just have a real crack in season 2025. So it's a real shame that there's another blip in his preparation. We just can't seem to get a clean run of health for him, because I think a lack of confidence in his own body and the fragile nature of his body probably stops him from really going at it 100% of the time as well. And it probably does leave him a little bit hesitant, and it leaves him vulnerable to attracting more injuries. And as you kind of would be with anything, it's almost like a limiting belief. Now, I obviously can't speak for George. I'm not George, and I haven't had this conversation with him. But from the outset, looking in and looking at his form over the past couple of seasons, he's been so injury interrupted that it almost feels like we can't get a run of solid form from him when he is fit. And maybe there is a little bit of, I don't know, distrust in the body, and maybe a lack of faith that his body is going to be able to pull through. But we've got time. There's no need to panic. We are still 8 weeks away from the season starting. It feels like it's a lot closer than it actually is, and it will come quickly. But in terms of rehab and getting George's body right, they obviously will take the precautionary steps that they need to take. They don't want to take any more risks with George, given his injury history. There's also no need to panic in terms of stocks waiting in the wings. I'm looking at Will Phillips, and I'm thinking this is now your opportunity to seize everything that you've got. It's unfortunate that George has gone down and we may be a couple of games without him. So if I'm Will Phillips, and I'm doing everything I can to try and secure a spot in the side in round 1. Now, look, we don't know the severity of George's injury, so I am jumping a few steps here. But if I'm Will Phillips, this is actually just going to drive me. This is going to drive me to perform even better in the off-season, and he wouldn't be the only one. There's obviously Finn O'Sullivan that will be vying for a spot, potentially even Luke Urquhart, who continues to impress during this preseason. So for our perspective in terms of the competition for spots, we've been speaking about this quite a bit over the off-season. I've definitely been speaking about it on the channel. There are some big names that will be sitting out in round one because we just don't have room for them. We have had quite a clean bill of health, and most of our best players are expected to be available for selection come round one. So I really hope that is the case with George, but if it's not the case, we do have options. And if I'm those players who are potentially on the outer, like a Will Phillips, even someone like an Eddie Ford, who we know can play on the wing, Finn O'Sullivan, Luke Urquhart, these are the kind of guys that I would think would really now start stepping it up once again and really eyeing off the opportunity to play in round one should George not be available. But for now, it's a little bit of a long and anxious wait. We will wait and see what is going on with our beloved George. Hopefully we'll have some more news tomorrow on where he's at. I don't know. I mean, it is just so unfortunate of every player to have this happen to them in the preseason. He's probably the last person that we could afford this to happen to, but it could be worse. We could be closer to the season. It could be a more severe injury. We'll just wait and see what the scans have to say. I'll be sure to keep you updated as soon as I get any news that comes to my hot little hand over on social media, X, Facebook, and Instagram, Kanga TV Show. I'll see you guys very soon.